A strange creature has been stalking the backcountry in Ohio for decades. It's called the Dogman. It lurks along liminal lands, river crossings, and graveyards. If you're out in the night, in the dark, it will hunt you. It will terrorize you. And it will feed on that fear. From a dogman chase on the backroads of Bucyrus to a pattern of horrifying sightings in Trumbull County. Join us as we investigate these seemingly supernatural encounters, explore their strange connection to Ohio's burial mounds and cemeteries, and go looking for the Ohio Dogman in the dark heart of it all.
Conspiracy.
Dogman, Sasquatch,
Homunculus.
alien races,
Anunnaki.
Corey Feldman,
Ghost Dad. That's cool.
poltergeist, spirit summoning, magicians are demons,
Anunnaki. Close the door, Close the door!
What is the moon? Cover-ups, MK Ultra, shadow people, disagreements,
Quiet, I'm trying to say words with my mouth.
vampire.
Too much. Well, hello. Hi, I'm Chris. And I'm Jeremy, and we are the Brothers of the Belief Hole.
Two people, not one.
That's right.
I must make that clear ahead of time.
This is not a skit.
People are still confused after 8 years.
Yeah, we are identical twins, unfortunately. So,
Unfortunately.
well, it has its pros and cons. But people new to the channel or new to the, if you're listening on audio, the podcast, either you may think it's one person with one voice talking to themselves, which can be hard to follow. I'm sorry. We've played with the idea of picking up an accent or something.
Pitch shifting a voice down, but
And visually, it's not super helpful either. So thinking maybe name tags would be good.
I'm not doing that.
Or fur.
Or a fur. There you go. You can be a hairy Jeremy.
That's
How
right.
about that?
I'm pretty hairy, but this is
I'm going to pour my dogman blood.
dogman hair.
A little full. Yes. What are we doing today, Jeremy? This has been a long time coming, and we've been excited for this for a while.
I've dressed up like a child, partway, because I lost my chest hair, because it's a very special day, Chris, because we are diving back into a subject very near and dear to our hearts.
Especially you.
That's right. One of the reasons I wanted to start the show back in the day, my fascination and love for the Dogman.
Yes. And today we're doing Ohio Dogman specifically.
Yeah.
We did an interview a year ago by now, probably. Really fantastic conversation with the judge and Shane over at In the Shadows. Was it In the Shadows?
From the Shadows.
From the Shadows podcast.
Yeah.
Great time, great conversation. And we just kept putting it off for several reasons. One of them, there were some technical issues with the audio. Usually we like to mix our channels differently and kind of edit around stuff. And everything kind of got recorded on the same track, or each mic recorded on, everybody's mic recorded on everybody's own track. So it's kind of hard to mix and edit anyway.
Yeah, anyway, so we weren't able to release it then, but you might be familiar with the judge if you've heard beyond his Dogman story, which is now pretty out there. He was on the History Channel.
Yeah,
It's
the
Monster
History Channel
Quest?
beat us to it.
Yeah, well, we recorded it before they did, but
Yeah.
because of the issues technically, and it was just kind of a bear to edit it.
I think it was the season premiere of, I believe it was Monster Quest. They came back.
Yeah. But you're going to hear our version with the judge today. We had a really good long conversation. We might include some of that we cut out for members in the expansion potentially.
Yeah.
Because it was a long conversation, a lot of interesting stuff. But you may be familiar with the judge from our show when he talked about the possession.
Yes.
Or not really the possession, but the
luring of the spirit known as Wind that came to his daughter.
came after his daughter.
Yeah.
That was a really creepy encounter.
Really fascinating.
Was that in the expansion or did that on the main?
That was in the main.
Okay. So you guys might be familiar with that. Anyway, so that's coming up in this episode. That was kind of the impetus, was to build an episode around Ohio specifically because not only that's where we live and we're born, there is something about Ohio that I think a lot of people recognize or believe, that there is a weird...
No, we said it was the center of the universe, the unknown center of the universe.
It just feels like it resonates a little differently. I mean, there's a lot of strange places in the United States and elsewhere, but there is something strange about Ohio, and specifically with regards to the Dogman. There is a very large number of sightings And there might be reasons for that we'll be exploring in this episode. How do these things get around? What are they made of? Are they physical? Phantasmic?
Interdimensional? Demonic?
Or a little bit of both? And we're going to prove it absolutely today. Right, Chris?
No, we're not.
We're going to find out exactly what makes them tick, what makes them bark.
No, this is going to be interesting. I'm also excited to touch a little bit. We covered a little bit before the connection between sacred lands, burial grounds, churchyards, things like that. And there seems to be a magnet for these things or an origin point, maybe. We're going to get into a little bit of that as well. So, but yeah, we're going to be going all around Ohio, and there's plenty of accounts we're not going to have time to cover. We're going to do a part 2 because we really want to talk to Matt Emch over in Youngstown, who had a really incredible encounter. I really believe his story.
Yeah, we'll kind of touch on that in this episode because we have some stories in that area.
Yeah.
But that's another case that we're going to be doing kind of a part 2 of the Ohio Dogman because we have so much from here. And I talked to Matt, finally got in touch with him, and he wants to come on and tell a story.
Cool.
So that'll be in the part 2 later on in the season. But let's get into some of these stories, Chris, because we have quite a bit to get into.
We do.
Some from our own listeners, and yeah, some interesting travel theory, how these things get around, the connection with burial mounds, sacred land, cemeteries and such, and stories that connect to that. So we're going to peel back the layers a little bit and explore Ohio's Dogman infestation. I can't do it. Why am I going to try to go falsetto?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. That's where I go to initially.
What's that? It's Chihuahua. Man, I used to be able to do a really good howl.
I can't go high anymore.
What happened to us?
We've aged.
Our vocal cords have thinned out.
Our larynxes and proboscises. Okay,
Man.
now you're clipping the mic. Anyway, yes, we're excited, obviously, about this. Let's get into it. What's our first avenue of investigation, Jer?
This story comes from Daaron Wilson. This took place in 2007 in Niles, Ohio, which is significant. And we'll get into why after the story. But I love this story because it's a short little story, and he kind of sees this thing through his friend's eyes, in a sense.
Mm.
In other words, he's there, but his friend is the one that really sees this thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's just a great kind of like coming of age mischief moment, as we did growing up as, small town, rural Ohio kids, getting into trouble, having fun, and then
exploring in the night.
And something like this changes your life. This is called Fireworks Summon the Dogman.
It was summer of 2007. I was 19 or 20. My friend and I went down to some train tracks near my house to light off fireworks late at night. It was probably midnight at this point. We went down to the tracks to avoid potentially having the cops called. We figured we'd set off the fireworks, then just follow the tracks back to my house to avoid being seen. So that's what we did. About half the distance back to my house, my friend, who was walking slightly ahead of me, turns his back to say something to me, looks behind me, and screams at the top of his lungs, "Daaron, run!" I'd never heard this guy raise his voice before, let alone scream. We immediately took off. It was about a quarter of a mile. We finally made it to the clearing. Completely out of breath, I said, "What the hell was that about?" He said there was something behind me, about 10 yards or so, slowly moving towards us. When I asked what it was, he said he didn't know. I said, "What do you mean you don't know?" He said it was like a bear, but with long legs. It was on all fours, solid black. It was hard to see any details because there was barely any light on the tracks. I thought he was nuts for years, or thought maybe it was a bear. They've randomly been sighted in the area. I ended up telling my mom and then basically forgetting about it. That is, until a year ago. My mother sends me a link she found on some local Facebook group. It was a website about Dogman. I had never heard of Dogman. She said, "Is this what you guys saw back in the day?" I immediately sent the link to my friend with no context. About 15 minutes later, he texted me back, "That's exactly what I saw on the train tracks." My blood ran cold. I started researching, and I was horrified to discover there's been multiple sightings all over the area, even one about a mile from our own sighting. I looked at a map and noticed they've each been along the Mahoning River, from Lordstown, Warren, all the way to Youngstown. I've even brought it up to friends and coworkers that have said they've heard of it before. I'm completely blown away that my entire life I've lived in a potential cryptid hotspot. I'm still researching and looking for anyone else that has had similar experiences in my area. Even though I'm a skeptic, all of the stories are really starting to change my mind.
They'll do that.
Yeah, they will.
You read enough of these accounts.
Yeah, you hear enough credible accounts, especially when you can hear people's voices
Yeah.
or see their look in their eyes when they tell you the story.
And this was not Daaron's voice. This was Brother John doing the read and the sound design. Just in case anybody's new here, that's usually how we do it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Daaron.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I missed that in the story that he came across another account only a mile away.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to find some corroborative reports and I found one. I don't know if it's the same one he's thinking of, but there's one in Niles, Ohio. Same place he is. Yeah.
You know when that happened? Was it around the same time?
Yeah. I found it on Dogman Encounters. If you guys know Dogman Encounters Radio, Vic Cundiff.
Oh, great resource.
Yeah. It's the show that woke me up or introduced me to the concept of the Dogman, and listening to those accounts, after listening to dozens and dozens, it starts to sink in your brain, like how many people, at first I was like, is he in LA? Is he hiring friends to do, or like voice actors and just paying people to, because there were so many stories. It was hard to believe at first that you have these werewolf-like, non-shape-shifting werewolf-like creatures wandering around. And it just seemed like a new phenomenon because people weren't reporting it very frequently up until Vic, I believe.
Well, and they were so credible sounding. Like you could hear the terror in a lot of these. I mean, I haven't heard all of the accounts on.
There's definitely not, they're not all, like earnest P-Whirl.
There's some that are more compelling than others.
Yeah, there's people that seem a little less genuine, but there are some people that definitely really resonate.
Yeah.
And we've played some in the past, like the cherry bomb muffler guy.
Yeah.
And for a little while, it just ran along beside me and just didn't pay me any attention. But that didn't last. Just slowly, seemed like it took forever, but just slowly, it started to turn its head, and it looked at me. Couldn't help it. I looked full in its eyes. I wish that I hadn't. I wish I'd never seen it. I wish I could erase the picture of what I saw from my mind, but I can't. This thing had great big black eyes. All I could see was black, and then they just looked as black to me as a bottomless pit. They just seemed soulless to me. And I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get away from this thing, but I couldn't because I was afraid I was going to wreck. And then it came closer, and it leaned down, and it stuck its head in my window.
Anyway, so I found this account. So we're going to just briefly go over this because it happens to be in the exact same location nearly a decade later. And if he didn't come across this one, he may have, but it's recent. It was just this last December 26th, 2000. Oh, wait, I can't read date format. It's from 2016. So
you can't read numbers?
So yeah, I guess it wasn't. Man, I wish it was 2017.
10-year anniversary.
Oh, wait, it is 2017. Wait, what is it? No, it's 2027.
It's 2026 now, if you're confused.
Oh my God. The hole has eaten my brain and all my time and understanding of reality. Okay. Anyways, so this is from 2016. So yeah, this might have been when he came across. He didn't say in his message. Chris, do you want to read this? This is an anonymous submission to Dogman Encounters.
Sure. I was just going to say before we do this, and we'll probably touch this in a little bit, but the train track element is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that is a common thread in a lot of these accounts. Train tracks, liminal kind of threshold places in general, but train tracks come up a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in Ohio encounters.
Well, it's funny because you think
they're using them to travel.
Yeah. Dogman highways, like the controversial Bigfoot highways of the power line cut throughs, which we have a lot of those around here too. But it makes sense. It sounds silly, but it does make sense that wildlife uses them, if there's a clearing convenient travel.
I believe in the very first recorded Wolfian, mannish wolf encounter in Ohio, the Defiance werewolf.
Yeah.
That's like kind of the first recorded one that I could find. And that was in a train depot along the tracks.
Really?
And we'll touch on that a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's maybe more of a dubious story, but
More legendy.
well, it was reported by people in the town and who worked at the train yard. There were police reports and it was in the papers. So it wasn't like the argument, it was probably a hoax, a lot of people think, but
Mhm.
I'm going to break it down a little bit after
Okay.
this.
Well, it's so weird that you say tracks because, yeah, is part of it when you run into strange creatures, if you want to say Bigfoot or Dogman, in these kind of open liminal boundary lines, is it just because that's where civilization meets the wilderness? Or is it because there's something to these liminal places that has an energy? Or is it just convenience for the cryptids of the day?
We're going to find out.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, Chris, because that's also in this account. It's weird the similarities in this other Niles, Ohio encounter from just 10 years later.
Oh, it tracks in this one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Chris, you want to read it for me? This,
Sure.
again, was submitted anonymously to Dogman Encounters. Link in the show notes.
I saw something on Monday night that still has me totally shaken to my very core. I've always loved nature. I love the woods. I love hiking and camping, fishing. I'm really into mycology, so I'm out looking for mushrooms and various types of fungus whenever I get a chance.
Awesome.
The weather was absolutely beautiful on Monday for this time of year. So towards evening time, I decided to round up some of my walleye gear and head down to an old train trestle crossing the Mahoning River in Niles, Ohio. There's the river. I had parked my car about 1.5 miles from the trestle so I could walk the tracks and hit a few other spots along the river on my way down there. By the time I reached the trestle, it was pretty much dark. I was wearing a headlamp at the time, so I had a dependable light source. At this location, there is a lake directly across the river. The two are connected by a small overhead dam. I was there for 15 minutes when all of a sudden, this overwhelming feeling of dread came over me. Typical. I switched my headlamp on to turn around to start back up the riverbank. And right behind a big sycamore tree, I saw what looked to be a very large animal, kind of kneeling beside and behind it. As I locked my eyes on it, I completely froze. I knew I was definitely seeing something there, but my mind couldn't process it. That's another thing that comes up a lot. Yeah. What I was looking at didn't make any sense. The thing that I kept saying to myself was, animals aren't supposed to look like that. Right as I'm thinking this, it's as if this thing read my mind, stood up, and made itself perfectly visible in the most pretentious way. It almost had the vibe of like, yeah, now you see me. You know I'm real. I definitely exist. What are you going to do about it? And as soon as it happened, it kind of hunched over and made its way into the brush. I was out of there like a flash. As soon as my feet hit the tracks, I ran and ran the entire way back to my car without stopping. By the time I reached my car, I couldn't breathe. Both my legs were locked up. I was vomiting. And somewhere in between the encounter and running away, I had pissed myself. Oh man, that's tragic on many levels.
Yeah.
There's so many things in that account that you hear in other accounts
Mm-hmm.
from different people who don't know each other. Like the specifically, what I think is always interesting, how the mind isn't able to process it.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be real.
Because like you're like, what animal is this? This can't be a thing. Like that is such a common response.
That's why so many reports are, they start off with like, I thought it was a Halloween prop. I thought it was an animatronic.
Yeah.
But it's not Halloween, doesn't make sense. And then, of course, the encounter ensues.
Your brain is just trying to process, trying to run through your catalog of known animals.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting he used the word, it stood up in this perfectly visible in the most pretentious way.
That's another thing.
It's interesting because that's an interesting way to put it, because there is this like, and there are so many stories, and some, I think maybe in this episode, we've also prepared some non-Ohio stories. We're going to be talking with Small Town Monsters next week
Yeah.
which we're really excited to do. Great guys over there.
Yeah, they're doing another Dogman documentary, and they're going to have us speak on it.
Yeah. And so we were going over some stories, and that's another thing. It's just this sense that it needs to be seen, or it wants, it's like flaunting. It's evil and terror because of that, again, the fear eating.
Well, that's the part of when I mentioned earlier how a lot of people's responses are they don't want to talk about it, not just because they think people will think they're nuts, but because there is this sort of darker personal feeling about it, that you'll bring it back.
Yeah.
That there's something in Linda Godfrey, this book here. So I got some great stories from her, really good research in this book, Real Wolfmen, True Encounters in Modern America. But she brings this up and she says, even from back on the classic St. Coletta case in Michigan or Wisconsin, that I'll touch on a little bit later because it relates to the mounds and the sacred ground. But there is an aspect to these things where most often, let's say in these cases, there is a feeling of malevolence and also a feeling that it wants you to think that it knows you on a personal level, a sort of feeling that's way more supernatural, you might say, than like seeing a terrifying animal in the wild. There's there's an intelligence there and a want to terrify.
It wants you to know that it knows you in a way, and it will come back, that it's watching and waiting. And that's why, sadly, like so many accounts, this anonymous fella who loved the woods and the outdoors, it affected him so much, like you hear all the time, he stopped going outdoors.
Right.
Like that was like his solace, his place to go. There's more in the account that I'll link to that he kind of follows up with, but he says, quote, "Now I feel like I was threatened and kicked out of my second home. The only thing I can keep thinking is these things aren't supposed to exist. I feel like a terrified little kid who just came face to face with the dreaded monster in the closet. The monster your parents told you, assured you, wasn't real and couldn't hurt you. People need to be made aware of these things. They are real. They are as real as it gets, and they are dangerous."
Yeah.
That was his experience, a lot of people's experience. Of course, I'm sure we'll have people coming across this episode who are, very Dogman friendly, pro Dogman. Like, there's a faction of encountees, witnessers, who it's almost like a more, I don't want to say new age, but spiritual kind of, and you have that with Bigfoot too, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say, I don't believe that these are all one thing that people are experiencing. There's the Dogman in the past, and I prepared a whole lot on this, but we don't have time for it today. So maybe in the next part,
Cynocephali?
going into the Cynocephali.
Yeah. Ancient race of dog-headed people that may or may not still be lurking.
Right.
In certain pockets.
Yeah. And if you dig into that at all and believe in the possibility that there was a parallel humanoid race with dog heads that was identified by the ancient Greeks, the ancient Chinese, Marco Polo talked about them. And, you can poke holes in that and talk about the ancient world's attempt to describe and write about, they'll use the term otherness. They're othering more, quote, savage groups of people, non-civilized. And so they would often call, like Romans would call non-Romans dogs. And so they kind of put that together and say, so it's probably not, but then you have all these different kinds of races that no longer exist. And interestingly, like you have the guys with like no head, but they have like eyes and mouth in their chest. I forget the name of those
with
guys.
The one leg.
Yeah, you guys listening out there, I'm sure, pop those up in the chat if you're watching the premiere comment. But those guys, you got the one-footed dudes hopping around. I should know these names by now, but we haven't talked about this in a while. But interestingly, if you look at the map, you know where these are all located? Or a lot of these? They're in the north to where the map makers were originally. The Cynocephali were identified as being, I think, largely on islands in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
But then you go to the north into Tartaria on the map, the old school location of Tartaria. And that's where a lot of these, quote, monsters or monstrous races of humans, humanoid type creatures, peoples.
And of course, not everything written down on a map exists or has existed.
That's true, maybe.
Jeremy believes everything, always and forever.
I want to believe. But I'm cautiously hopeful.
Well, obviously, I think what's more interesting about Dogman and even Cynocephali, we've had an encounter submitted meeting one of these entities, which, by the way, is, if you're not aware, it's less of the terrifying, almost werewolf type, but with a German Shepherd head. More of, it might be wearing human clothing. It might be acting more in a civilized manner, just in the shadows. You get a glimpse, smoking a cigarette, wearing a trench coat.
Yeah. I like our story from Jaker with the dog-headed man, Cynocephali type character.
The campfire, yeah.
Wearing a pullover. She only saw it, I think, about it for a minute, but it was standing maybe like 8 feet away from her, just beyond the campfire, leaning against the trailer. Really cool account.
Yeah,
we'll link that in the show notes too.
We'll have these in the show notes. You guys can check them out quickly.
Yeah.
And I'll get to, because I do want to touch back on, we had an account from someone named Jeremy. It was a really fascinating account near a graveyard that connects to the Coletta Mound case. And I'm going to touch on that later, but I just want to mention that now because he had that same experience of, he loved being out in the woods, hunting, fishing. That was his whole life. After this experience, he even stopped going outside at night.
Yeah.
At least around any wilderness areas. And he never goes into the forest anymore, which is just a sad thing. If that's such a big part of who you are.
And it makes sense too when you look at, for instance, in this account we just provided from Dogman Encounters, the anonymous account in Niles, Trumbull County, the way that he describes it in the rest of his encounter, just quickly quote what he said here, how they were built, perfectly adapted killing machines.
I've heard that.
I mean, you see these things that they are so powerful looking, devastating to see, paralyzing. And interestingly, he notes that it looked like it's something that would be perfectly adapted to go from 2 legs to 4, which you hear about in a lot of accounts.
Or 4 to 2.
And also not like in the movies where, the monster comes charging out of the woods very loudly, but he said it was so quiet and fluent with its movements. Just masters of camouflage. Masters of camouflage and utilizing the darkness. All that stuff that's like, you don't want to go back in the woods after that.
Right.
So yeah, I'll link to his full account, guys, on Dogman Encounters, so check that out. But again, this was 10 years later from our first fireworks listener witness account. But interestingly, we're going to provide a map. Maybe we'll pop it up in the video if you're watching, but you'll start to see a pattern here. And there are different places in Ohio that seem to be hotspots. And this location, Niles, Ohio, is just 8 miles from Youngstown.
Yeah.
And if you guys are familiar with Matt Emch's account, which we'll be getting from him directly for the next edition of this episode, that took place in Youngstown, and you had very oddly similar threads. He was, I think it was an old furnace, right? An old industrial site.
Some warehouse sort of factory structure or something that was abandoned.
Yeah.
But along railroad tracks again.
It took the railroad tracks to get there, or at least when he's done interviews since, he goes along the tracks to kind of point it out, or he has. I watched an interview recently with him from a great channel. What was that channel, Chris? Exposing the Strange? Exposing the Strange. We'll link that too.
I think he's an Ohio-based show.
Yeah, he's like an Ohio guy, and he collects a lot of really good Dogman accounts, Bigfoot reports, all that stuff from around here. But yeah, they went out there, and you could see him visibly getting
emotional,
a little choked up, and he admits to being scared because it's like the first time he'd been back there in a long time.
He was surprised at his reaction when he was there. He didn't think he would be that frightened.
Anyway, same area, right along the Mahoning River, maybe the same tracks. I'm not sure if it's the same tracks that connect up to Niles, but it's I would say plausible, if not likely, if it's only 8 miles away. That'll be coming up on the next edition, but there is something to train tracks. There's something about Ohio and its unique features that may play a role in the manifestation of these things. If you think there is maybe some kind of supernatural, phantasmic, magical, sacred connection with these things, however you want to refer to it, there's this connection with mounds, specifically burial mounds. And if you're not too familiar with the geography of Ohio and the history, if you look at a map, and I'll pull this on screen, Chris, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, the picture?
Yeah, the mounds.
I've looked at this too, because I had the same thought.
So this is a map of locations of all at the time, and this is an old map, but all the mounds at the time that were identified in Ohio. And it looks like a pimpled teenager who has a really bad acne problem because
it's more of a rash.
These red dots, yeah, it does. It looks like poison ivy with all these red bumps just stretching from the Ohio River Valley region, which is southern Ohio, separating us from Kentucky. And it's just, there are hundreds and hundreds of these mounds.
Now, are these all burial mounds? Because I know there's a lot of earthworks that weren't mounds and some defensive sorts of mounds. They thought were defensive.
I think this, Ohio is showing distribution of earthworks. So it's earthworks and mounds.
Yeah.
But of course, the earthworks have their own sacred connection as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even if nothing is buried there, like the Serpent Mound in Peebles, for instance, that we covered in our Peebles GE conspiracy episode with the defense contracting secretive installation down there that we got chased out of.
Yes, that's fun.
Yeah. But if you look at this map and you compare a lot of the Dogman accounts, there is a connection. And it's interesting because of the connection with Mounds, with Chris, the St. Coletta case, that famous case from Linda Godfrey.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't remember that account, I will briefly give you a rundown because it is a significant account. This wasn't Ohio, it was Wisconsin.
Yeah. And to that point, Wisconsin, it's a little ways away from here, but interestingly, you had the mound builders of Ohio and then the mound builders of Wisconsin. And I think the mound builders of Wisconsin, so here we have the Hopewell and the Adena people who are identified as, if not the authors of the mound, which that's kind of up for some debate. Some people believe there's an older or different mound builder race of people. At least
in Serpent Mound, I know it's not.
Yeah.
For sure.
But regardless, the mound builders in Wisconsin are identified as a different group, but I'm not sure if there is a potential for migration because the earthworks in Wisconsin, the people there that are identified as building them, I think may have been hundreds of years later.
Oh, okay.
So more recent mounds and not as grand. Ohio has, complexes of mounds in some places.
And the earthworks and such.
Yeah. But anyways, you go to Wisconsin, also mound building people, burial mounds, and then of course, Chris, the St. Coletta case from Linda Godfrey.
Yeah. So the St. Coletta case, if you guys aren't familiar, it's sort of the origin, if you're familiar with the Michigan Dogman or the Beast of Bray Road.
Yeah.
Classic account, again, Linda Godfrey. She kind of brought that to light, wrote about that. But she also brought to light the St. Coletta case, which was this incredible account. Basically, there was a groundskeeper, or I guess a night watchman that worked nights at this St. Coletta school, which was a school for special needs kids.
Exceptional children, I think it was called.
Yes, and it was Catholic run. And before it became the school, it was a monastery. And then before that, there had been these sacred burial mounds there. And the monastery kept them and kind of took care of these mounds as part of the property. But this is where it gets interesting. So there's this night watchman. He was a professional boxer at the time. This was 36. So Shackleman is walking around the grounds, just making sure everything's okay. It's getting close to midnight. And he notices that up on one of these mounds, he sees this very large, sort of hairy, dog-like thing on its knees digging in the mound. And as he backs away, this thing stands up on two legs and then darts off into the forest. So next night, he's got to go back to work. And he's...
Gotta get that paycheck.
He heads, I'm sure kind of anxiously back to that mound again. It's around the same time. And this time he's holding his big flashlight as sort of a baton, for defense.
Protection.
And as he comes around, of course, this thing is there again. And this time it stands up on two legs. And he said it had the head of a dog, sort of German Shepherd-like, which is what we hear all the time. And the body was more human. And it looks to him, and there's this terrible sense of menace. He says it's the sneering sort of look, this evil he felt.
Mm-hmm.
And as it looks at him, it says the famous phrase or word or string of sounds, Gadara.
Gadara.
Yeah. And then it runs away again. But he didn't tell the story for a long time. I think 20 years later, he told his son about it. And then his son eventually reported it to Linda. But the thing is, the crossover with his experience that, we had our listener Jeremy write in his account that happened.
Yeah, from Alabama.
Yeah, in Alabama. And he was the one who I mentioned earlier who had sworn off going into the woods at night. There's connections here. So the mound, sacred land, Jeremy's account, walked through the graveyard near his home out in this rural area, as he did many times with his dog Toomer, which is a great name for a dog, clumsy dog. And as he approaches the wood line, passes the graveyard. So again, this liminal line here.
Yeah.
He's climbing up onto this hill, this forested hill. His dog starts barking in a very strange way, takes off down the hillside back towards the graveyard. And he looks up and sees this 6 to 7 foot tall, hairy. And it was the same thing where he couldn't figure out what he was looking at because it was standing on two legs. These eyes were, he said, pitch black, which we've had another account with that same description.
As opposed to the golden glowing.
The gold is usually the glowing golden eyes, almost as if it's an internal light source is usually what you hear. But his account, pitch black, and he said it was kind of this sense of, I know you, this knowing darkness.
A dark intimacy.
And he said his knees got weak, and he believes he passed out, although he'd never passed out before. But he woke up at the bottom of the hill covered in scratches from the brambles and briars that he rolled through. And this is the key part here, too. Not just the sacred ground connection, but he said he smelled the smell of rot, decay, and death. And that's the same description that Shackleman gave about his experience. And you hear this in other experiences as well. But just fascinating connections there. And again, graveyard, mounds, sacred land, liminal, borderlands.
And locational patterns, too.
Yeah.
Because when Linda found the, quote, werewolf case file at the local police office, remember?
Oh, yeah.
The sheriff or something she talked to, and he had a file on sightings of these things, or, something that they had identified that people were calling in about. And that was the Beast of Bray Road. There again, you have is there a history here? It's the same area, the burial mound at the St. Coletta School in Wisconsin, and then you have the Beast of Bray Road later, obviously connecting those. Is there history? And again, here in Niles, Ohio, Youngstown,
right,
Warren, which is, I think, just north. And then more stories we have coming up in this episode that are also connected geographically to other accounts, almost like there are hotspots, there's maybe a travel corridor. How do they move about?
I can't wait for your theories on these.
I have a tunnel theory, which is interesting.
Yes.
It aligns cave systems and old coal mines that litter the earth beneath our feet here in Ohio.
Oh, cool.
That'll be interesting. But yeah, for this mound theory connection, I came across this and I thought this was really interesting to note. In the Ohio River Valley, so just over the Ohio River in Kentucky, there is a mound, a famous mound known as the Ayers Mound, which is unique, but then there's also other mounds with similar discoveries. But in this one, they discovered what a researcher, anthropologist, I forget his bona fides, but he wrote an article about it, about the discovery, and he refers to the skeleton they found inside as the wolf shaman.
Interesting.
Of the Adena people.
Why wolf?
Well, this is where, it gets really kind of crazy. So the shaman that they found the skeleton, he was found with the upper part of a wolf's jaw buried with him. He was adorned in leather, which they believe was animal skins, much like you have, the berserkers of Norway who would take on bear skins and the like to be fierce in battle. And then you have, of course, the skinwalkers, the Four Corners in the Southwest, shamans that practice putting on the skin of the beast,
sort of darker magic,
to become the beast. But the real crazy aspect of it is this guy had his upper incisors removed while he was alive.
Now,
and the purpose of this jaw apparently was to wear in his mouth to become the wolf.
It's commitment.
So you'd have the wolf head on top, wearing the wolf skins, and then the actual jaw coming through his mouth. And apparently this was not unique. Specifically, I found references to the Hatfield Mound in Greene County, Ohio, Clifford Williams site, Logan County.
Really?
Which I think is near Hocking Hills, I believe, which is apparently a hotspot, according to one of our listeners who wrote in. And then in Pickaway County, where we have multiple Dogman stories.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That will probably be in part 2. But just a weird connection. So, Chris.
So what is your theory there? That maybe they were aware of these things and that they...
Yeah, well, I'm going to pop this up on screen, guys. You can see it. And if you're listening on audio, it'll be in the show notes. But this is an actual photograph of the skull. And then it almost looks like a...
Oh, man.
The top part of the jaw looks like a spatula with fangs coming down. He would wear...
Yeah, so he put it in his mouth like a denture.
Yeah, to become the wolf.
Interesting.
So there's this veneration, this connection, this magical transformation.
Of course, this could just be, it's very close to shaman practices around the world where you wear animal skins and, connect to the beast within.
Okay, so I'm going to read this quote from the article. Beneath the earth of the Ayers Mound in Kentucky, archaeologists uncovered a skull that opens a haunting window into the ritual world of the Adena culture. The Adena left behind ceremonial earthworks and intricate artifacts, testaments to a worldview steeped in symbolism and spirituality. But this skull revealed something far more personal: the mark of a shaman. The man's upper front teeth had been deliberately removed during life, an agonizing alteration that spoke to deep ritual commitment. Such modifications were not casual acts. They marked individuals set apart.
those who carried spiritual or social authority. In this case, they identified him as a shaman, a bridge between the human and the spirit world. Even more extraordinary was what replaced the missing teeth, a section of wolf jaw carefully cut and fitted as a kind of prosthetic. The fusion of human and animal transformed his face into something otherworldly. It may have been worn in ceremonies, part of a mask or disguise, allowing the shaman to embody the wolf, channeling its spirit, ferocity, and sacred power. This single discovery illuminates the intersection of art, symbolism, and belief within Adena society. To their people, the shaman was more than human, maybe a werewolf. I added that.
I thought so.
He carried with him the essence of the animal world, a living vessel of transformation, whose very body told the story of devotion to ritual and the mysteries of life and death. And I don't want to further mysticize people that I can't talk to and get their exact viewpoint on this, but because they're not here anymore. But right, Adena? Ancestors, but yeah, the Indian people. So I've got links in the show notes, but it's so curious because where these mounds are, especially in southern Ohio, southern and central Ohio, really predominantly there. You can see on the map.
And there are a lot that are just gone now because of expansion of
early development without
yeah.
paying attention or noticing or caring, depending on the developer back in the day. We've lost a fair amount of them. But it's just so strange because you have this connection. This is the transformation, right? Shamanistic venerating of becoming the wolf. And it is, that's werewolf, right? I mean, that's modern day, we would say. It's akin to the werewolf concept. And it's bizarre because in this location, you have legends of Ohio werewolves.
Oh. You mean not Dogman per se, but werewolf?
Right. Yeah, we're talking upright walking canid. I know that there is a distinction for sure, but I feel like it would be weird not to mention that there is this kind of rich history in Ohio.
What werewolf history are you referring to? You talking about the one that I mentioned earlier?
Well, there's the Defiance, right?
Yeah, Defiance werewolf on the tracks.
Yeah, but there's more.
Ooh.
So I want to play a clip for you guys.
Oh, yes.
This is, if you haven't heard of the Woolyburger before.
Sounds tasty.
There was this castle and this legend of the Woolyburger.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
Yeah, so it's interesting because if you look up online, there's very little about it, thanks to the great work of the Ohio Exploration Society, who I think Jason is the guy who runs that. I talked to him about our
Peebles.
Peach Mountain and Peebles episode because they broke ground on that years ago. But they had a little bit about the Woolyburger, and it's interesting because I don't think it's the full story. It's the legend that kind of exists now, but if you go back in time, it's a little different. So,
Lay it on me.
So there's a cemetery called Little Pennsylvania Cemetery, but colloquially down there, it's known as Woolyburger Cemetery. It's a historic pioneer graveyard, and it's just outside Darbydale, Ohio. And the location is very important. We're about to find out why. But the creature that's referenced there, according to Ohio Exploration Society, is a Bigfoot-type creature that lurks in the cemetery and around the area. But I feel like it's also kind of the Bigfootification of so many different entities we've had in the past. The Ohio Grassman, early Werewolf and Dogman reports.
White Thang.
Everything kind of becomes Bigfoot at a certain point, I think, because it's
especially
a hairy hominid.
Up until I would say the last 5-7 years, a lot of people would just take anything that sounded close to Bigfoot and just kind of wrap it into that because that was more acceptable of a explanation than a dog-headed furry man.
Yes, but was it originally a Bigfoot in this area? That's the question. I woke up one day to an Art Bell Ghost to Ghost, as I often do because they play through the night sometimes while I sleep to give me good dreams.
You're a haunted boy.
And this was playing. So I'll play this for you guys now. And this triggered the research into the werewolf phenomenon in Ohio. And I haven't heard this anywhere else. So here we go.
James on Skype. Hello there. You're on the air with Linda Godfrey.
Hello, Art and Linda. I just wondered if Linda had ever heard the story of the Woolyburger in Ohio, central Ohio.
The Woolly Bear?
Woolyburger.
Burger?
Yeah.
Woolyburger?
Yeah.
Does that come with fries or?
No, it's the last name of the gentleman that, it's a werewolf story.
Okay.
And there was a gentleman that, there's a town called Darbydale. A lot of people will call it a Bigfoot, but it's not because they don't know. Anyways, the remnants of his home, which is brought from Eastern Europe, you can still see a couple pylons that are in the creek. It's called Hell's Branch. And what ended up happening was a bunch of the people started dying. Well, they figured it out that it was Woolyburger, and they destroyed his home. So most of the homes along the river have parts of his old castle.
So you're telling me, you're telling me this is a guy named Woolyburger.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay. And he transformed into what?
Into a werewolf.
Into a werewolf and killed people.
Yeah, and so he was killed. They shoved a rock in his mouth. And there's a cemetery called Woolyburger Cemetery after that. It's not Willie, it's Woolly.
Woolly, I'm sorry. All right,
What is that near? Do you mind my asking?
Yeah, it's by the town Darbydale in Columbus, or outside of Columbus, Ohio. I grew up there. That's why I know this.
Oh, okay.
Near Columbus.
Okay. I've had a long-standing Wolfman habitation situation going on not too far from Columbus, and I found quite a few sightings in Columbus. And I'll also say that Wisconsin has the same sort of historic background to what they call the werewolf, or we now call werewolves, where you have these German immigrants who bring these cultural tales and cultural beliefs with them, and they seem to manifest here as well as they did there.
Exactly. It's lycanthropy. And that's what I'm saying. Anyways, he still exists. I have an experience with him that I talk about sometimes, but it's a long story, and I'm sure you'd be bored with it. But
what? Bored?
Email it to me. I would love to see it.
No, she's not going to be so bored. Email it to her, and
it will not bore me.
Your email is again
LindaGodfrey99@gmail.com, or you can just go to LindaGodfrey.com.
All right.
Anyways, Bell Gab Roswell's art. God bless.
Okay, thank you.
Rest in peace, Linda. Oh, crazy. A little extra information there that I wasn't expecting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That she was familiar with other cases near Columbus. Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting because he says specifically werewolf, right?
Yeah.
I'll put a little image of a map on screen here, but this is a location that is 13 miles, and this is really crazy. 13 miles from this Darbydale cemetery, where this legend of this werewolf.
Again, a cemetery.
Werewolf of the Woolyburger. I love that aspect too, where his parts of his foundation of his castle is used to build other homes along in that area. Anyway, I'd love to dig into this more. I couldn't find if he submitted to Linda, I couldn't find it published anywhere, but we'll keep looking. But again, this is only 13.7 miles by car to London, Ohio.
Werewolves of London.
American Werewolves of London. You remember that story?
No. Wait. The
werewolf.
Familiar in my brain.
The Werewolf of London, Ohio. You don't remember this? We covered this. This was
we did?
It was on Paranormal Witness.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Incredible account. We'll link that in the show notes, guys. We covered in the expansion. Maybe we'll drop it in here, depending on how much.
Incredible, but seemed very credible.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Because, it's a werewolf. Like,
like a legit transforming guy.
I tend to think like.
And again, I didn't think about this, but I remember the guy that reported this account saw the guy that he thought. Basically, quick.
I can do a quick. I read a little bit.
Okay, I was just say the eyes, the glowing yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The golden glowing yellow eyes in his human form. So yeah, this was in the 1980s. So obviously later than when Woolyburger would have been around. But if this guy's still having experience with Woolyburger, could it be the same? Only 13 miles away. It's crazy. So in the Paranormal Witness documentary, they didn't mention anything about Woolyburger. I don't know. I doubt that they had. Maybe they had an awareness of the werewolf legend, but at this time, it's like akin to Bigfoot down there. So it's just interesting, this connection. But it was in the 1980s. It was Diane and Keith Williams, and they'd moved into this cabin or house in the woods just outside London, Ohio. And yeah, they believed they were being stalked by something inhuman. And I think this is the one where she saw it in the window at night, perhaps.
From what I remember, it was a guy who they.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that.
Was it a separate story?
No. So what happened initially was they were having these terrorizing kind of moments, and I think if this is the right one, where the guy would go off. He was like a trucker, or he worked late shifts, and she did not want to be there alone at night. Yeah, she got more and more scared because she started to see. She was fine at first, but then she saw these glowing yellow eyes, golden eyes, and they were 6-8 foot tall, whatever they were, out from her kitchen window, which is a horrifying thing to picture. Mm-hmm. Hate windows at night without lights outside. And it kind of climaxes in the beginning with the guy coming home and then finding tracks outside.
That's right.
And the tracks go up on the roof because it's snowing.
Ugh.
So they have these snowy giant wolf prints that end up on the roof. And then they follow the tracks, I believe, if I remember this right, to like a hunter's cabin.
Yeah.
And in there, and this is where it gets real werewolfy, they find shackles.
Yeah, chains on the wall leading to ankle shackles.
Scratches, blood, hair.
Yeah, there's scratches all over the inside, like deep,
Yeah.
like animal scratches.
Oh yes, there was a guy. It was a guy named George that they end up connecting this to.
Yeah, he worked at like a mechanic shop.
Yeah, well, the tracks led directly to that cabin, and the cabin belonged to George.
Yeah.
And so they end up going to the tire shop where he works, or the mechanic shop. And there's a scene that they tell where he rolls a tire out, or they roll a tire into him or something, and he comes out. They call him back to like get the tire, and they get a look at him, and he looks at them in the eyes, and he has golden eyes.
Yeah.
Which is, that's just
Pretty unique.
That's you don't hear like modern werewolf. Anyway, I just want to bring that up because, Dogman, werewolf, they're distinct, but you can't not make that connection, especially in this area where you're having all these sightings. It'd be weird for them to be, running into each other in the woods if they're not the same species.
It's interesting. So I guess some people do have golden eyes. It's very rare. From what I'm reading here.
Well, werewolves.
It's like an amber gold.
Human werewolves.
It's very rare as a human eye color, but they occur when a person's iris produces high levels of phenylalanine, a reddish yellowy pigment, rather than these are all new words to me, eumelanin, the darker brown pigment.
That's got to be correct.
Yeah. Fascinating though. No, that story was really interesting. That London werewolf.
Yeah, maybe we'll drop it depending on how long this episode's going to be.
It's going to be long because we haven't got to my stuff yet. I know you have a theory about traveling underground, so we'll have to get to all that. And we also have the judge's account.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to get through yet, guys. So,
and did you want to save the Defiance? We could save Defiance Werewolf for part 2 if you want.
Yeah, we can save it.
Okay.
It is interesting. A lot of people think it was hoaxed, but we'll get into it on part 2 because I think there are some credible aspects to that account.
Awesome. We get a little peppering of werewolf in Ohio Dogman part 2. And for you Dogman purists out there, I'm sorry, but we had to talk about it.
I don't think anyone cares, Jeremy.
There might be one guy
who's like, hey, wait a minute.
Don't werewolf my Dogman.
I mean, they are very different.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take a quick break, Chris?
Yeah, let's do that.
Have a little hair of the dog and get into some fun accounts, and let's hear from the judge as well when we get back.
Yeah, and then I'm going to get into a couple really fascinating connective accounts from Linda's book right behind me over here. Real Wolfman.
Yeah.
Great, well-researched book, great accounts she took from people. And we're going to talk about a couple of those cases in Ohio and how they connect to the mound theory, to graveyards, and to the overall strangeness in the heart of it all, Ohio.
And we're going to tell you how they're getting around and where you can find them.
We'll see.
All right, guys, we'll see you after the break. Oh, and if you're not a member yet and you'd like to get full-length, fully produced, members-only episodes, audio only for now, whenever we drop a main episode, go to Belieful.com and click the big red Join the Expansion button. And you'll get those fully produced, full-length episodes.
Yeah, this expansion episode was a blast. We did an unexpected deep dive on mantid encounters.
Yes, mantis entities. Mantis ETs? Mantis other dimensional mantis.
Yeah, the research got weirder and wider than I thought it would, but that's always good.
It's warm in here. These are warm, Chris.
You probably take your hairy hands off.
Then I'll lose the spirit of the dog. And
you're not a shaman.
All right, guys. I'm going to take a cold shower. We'll see you in a minute. Enjoy this clip from this week's Members Only episode. Bye. Interesting similarity. Once, under the influence of a heroic dose of mushrooms, I jumped into the shower because I realized I had never showered while tripping before. As I was completely engulfed in the highly euphoric sensation of hot water blanketing my body. I feel that all the time. I had the instant, abrupt, first and only time I felt I was being actively communicated with some kind of higher entity or spiritual beings. They presented themselves out of nowhere as I was completely focused on how awesome shroom showers felt, and it was more vivid than anything I have ever experienced on mushrooms or any other psychedelic. It was 3 interdimensional or otherworldly entities that felt like they came in groups of 3s for some reason. They felt tall in my mind, like they were towering over me, and it felt like they were right by me. in the shower, watching me. It felt like they said something to me telepathically, something along the lines of, quote,
"You are correct in your ideas of altruism. We are here. We have always been here."
okay.
Everything will unfold as it should. We can make ourselves present to you and mankind, if we please. Psychedelics lift the veil to let you see more of this reality, to see what you already feel to be true.
I feel like you're channeling a weird version of Terrence McKenna.
No, not that good.
Everything is beautifully connected.
They felt benevolent, kind, comforting. I was in awe and amazement of what I had just experienced, rather than scared, and I called my girlfriend into the bathroom to try and relay what had happened because I felt so excited and felt like I needed to tell someone immediately. That's all I experienced in there, but man, it felt so profound. I remember being like, I can't believe they're real, and communicated. It blew my mind.
All right, welcome back, you believelings.
Hi.
Hope you're buckled in for some more Dogman discovery.
I feel like a furry now.
I know you lost the fancy sport coat, and now you're wearing your hairy hands and our Dogman Belief Hole t-shirt.
Yeah, kind of ruining the mystique of where the hair begins and the hair ends. Maybe I'm just warm. I'm going to take these off too.
Why don't you show everybody your shirt, just so they know what's available in the merch store?
Oh yeah, you guys want to get a Dogman, Belief Hole Dogman shirt and represent the show and your love of the dog? Well, you can. Click the QR code on screen here.
Nice. It's got the nice little badge on the arm. I like that look.
It's over here. It's very comfortable. It's a nice soft thread.
Looks good on you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm not usually a t-shirt guy, but
well, you should be.
I am today.
All right, where we're going next? Where do you want to go? I know we have the judge's account to do, and then I have a couple really great accounts from Linda's book. What is going on are you transforming? What's going on with your arm?
Oh, yeah. The wolf is coming into me. Sounds weird. The wolf is becoming a part of me. This is a rubber band mark from the, it keeps my fur.
Very professional costuming.
This is from, I think, 6th grade. I found it in my parents' basement.
It was just like a rug.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, now it's an arm.
So where are we going? We're going to go over to Bucyrus and visit with the judge, or did you want me to jump into some more of Linda's accounts from Real Wolfman?
That's your call, Chris. How you feeling? Because I know the judges is a long story. I think, what is it, like 15 minutes or something?
I think like 16.
Okay. It's a good story. So we'll buckle in and have some popcorn with you guys.
And the interview was like over 2 hours, 3 hours. And hopefully we get to drop some bits of conversation in around the story, because we had some really, really good conversation with Shane and the judge.
All right, well, let's save that if you want to save it. If you want to do a couple more stories.
Sure.
Okay.
But stick around for that, guys, because it will be the highlight of the evening.
So where are you taking us? What strange dot on the Ohio Dogman landscape?
Okay, well, we're going to be going up to the northwestern portion of this great state in a place called Pickerel Creek Wildlife Area.
Okay. Defiance, that's like the most northwest you can get, where the Defiance werewolf happened.
Oh, really? No, well, this is like on Lake Erie. So.
Oh, is this the one, Sandusky?
Well, you'll see.
Okay. Sorry.
Actually, I found this encounter. I forgot. This was not from Linda's book. This was from Lon Strickler over at Phantoms and Monsters. And this is cool, Jared, because this account will be relatable to us in a way, because it involves two unsuspecting brothers on a camping trip.
Nice.
So they're out for a peaceful night of camping, and they end up having an unexpected encounter with a couple of another kind.
What kind?
Oh, you'll see. Well, you can probably guess based on the episode.
I think I know where you're going.
But this is a bit of a weirdie. But
as opposed to the normal ones we've had.
Well, this is a little weirder. So again, this comes from Lon's site. Happened in Pickerel Creek Wildlife Area in northwestern Ohio in the summer of 2018, approximately 2:30 a.m. So getting to that devil's hour. And this is titled over on Lon's site, Two Upright Dogmen Creatures Stalk Brothers.
This event occurred in northwestern Ohio during the summer of 2018. I was camping with my brother along Lake Erie, near the Pickerel Creek Wildlife Area, just west of our home in Sandusky, Ohio. That first night, we went to sleep early. Sometime around 2:30 a.m., I woke up to relieve myself. My brother was still fast asleep. The moon was nearly full, so there was enough light for me to see fairly well outside the tent. There were not many bushes around our campsite, so I did not feel overly concerned about anything hiding nearby. I walked a short distance away from camp, and that was when I saw something that scared the crap out of me. There were two dog-like creatures standing not far from me, staring directly at me. When I say standing, I mean they were standing upright on two legs. I completely freaked out and ran back toward the tent. As I ran, I heard what sounded like them coming after me. They were making the strangest noises. It was not really like a dog or wolf. It sounded more human than animal. And it was the scariest sound I had ever heard. I was too afraid to turn around. I thought that any second they were going to pounce on me and attack, but they never did. When I reached the tent, I dove inside. I scared my brother awake, and he immediately asked what was going on. I told him what had just happened. He looked at me strangely, then laughed and told me to shut up. I told him that if he did not believe me, he should go outside and see for himself. He laughed again and said, "Sure thing, I have to go anyway." I watched him stand up and head out of the tent. I knew this was serious, and I could not let him go out there by himself, so I followed him into the darkness. My eyes took a few seconds to adjust. Then I saw my brother standing about 20 yards away, staring toward the trees. I walked up beside him and looked in the same direction. At first, we were staring into the pitch-black woods. Then as my eyes adjusted, I could see something standing in the shadows. It was part dog and part man. It did not move. It did not growl. It just stood there, upright, looking at us. The upper half looked like a German shepherd. It had a dog-like head, yellow eyes, and hair covering the upper body. The human part seemed to begin around the mid-torso and continue downward. It stood on two legs like a man. The upper body was hairy like a dog, but the lower half was hairless, like that of a human male. I whispered to my brother and asked him what he thought it was. He said nothing. He was literally frozen with fear and shock. I grabbed him and pulled him back toward the tent. As we ran, the creature let out a horrific howl. The sound echoed through the trees. It was like nothing I had ever heard before. We dove into the tent and piled our backpacks and gear in the front of the entrance, as if that would protect us. We were both absolutely terrified. My brother was shaking, and I felt like I was going to throw up. I asked him what we should do. He said he did not know, but if that thing got into the tent, it would kill us for sure. A short time later, we heard a dog-like howl in the distance. For a moment, we started to feel relieved, although I knew it might have been the second creature I had seen earlier. Then the howl was answered by another one much closer to us. As if it were right outside the tent. It had followed us. Then we heard scratching and digging sounds. By that point, we were both screaming hysterically. Then it suddenly stopped. After that, there was nothing but silence. We waited inside the tent for at least 15 minutes, hoping it had left. Finally, we decided to risk looking outside. I grabbed the flashlight and carefully peeked through the tent flap. I saw nothing. I waited a little longer, then looked out into the campsite. Nothing was there. We decided to stay in the tent until daylight. There was no way we were going to walk through the dark woods toward my car while those creatures might still be out there. After what felt like forever, morning light started to come through the forest canopy. We slowly exited the tent and looked around. There were large canine and human-like prints all around the campsite, especially in a circle around the tent. We quickly gathered our gear and started hiking toward my car, which was parked in a lot about a half-mile away. When we reached the car, the first thing I noticed was a terrible stench. I did not know what it was, but the odor was very strong. It was so strong that we could still smell it after we got in the car and drove away. My brother believes the creatures may have found the car and marked it somehow. I do not know if that is true, but the stench lingered in the car for days. When I got home, after dropping my brother off at his apartment, I started looking online for answers. I found several accounts of dogman sightings throughout Ohio, but none from the specific area we had been. That was 5 years ago. My brother and I still enjoy the outdoors, but we have never returned to the area where we encountered each other. We are both more aware of our surroundings when hiking and camping now, but we do not talk about the encounter with each other.
Wow.
Terrifying.
Interesting. Yeah, you don't want to bring it up, even with your brother.
Yeah. Don't want to talk about it.
Man, I want to see a dogman, but I know.
No, you don't.
I know I shouldn't want it.
No, I don't think so. There was a fella who wrote in from Ohio, Hocking Hills area.
That's right.
I tried to get in contact with him. His name was Matt. So if you're out there, Matt, and you're listening, let us know. But he's more on the other side where he thinks these things are
It's flesh and blood.
More of things that exist alongside us and just kind of want to be left alone.
Like the physical Bigfoot.
Yeah, he claims to know a specific area in the Hocking Hills area where these things exist and is in some sort of contact with them. So we'll see if he reaches out, because that would be an interest. He said he would give us a tour if we kept it confidential of location.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I have a story coming up that is adjacent to Hocking Hills.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
Another through line, multiple stories that track from the story I have going up through Hocking Hills, and then one in Circleville, which it's just a line.
Yeah.
Part of this dogman migration pattern.
Oh, what's weird is, with this count, obviously, the fact that the lower part was hairless.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've heard an account like that with a dogman per se. Where again, you have the typical German Shepherd type head with the pointed ears, usually pointed up. But yeah, the lower nakedy man-bee on the lower parts.
Nakedy man-bee.
That'd be unsettling for other reasons, I imagine.
It's interesting that he said he couldn't find any other reports in that area specifically, because this was a wildlife area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right on the lake. And I very synchronistically, when I was exploring, I don't know if you can hear that train horn behind me.
Oh, the tracks. Dogmen are coming.
The tracks are calling, summoning the dogman. Yeah, interestingly, I was exploring the Exposing the Strange YouTube channel, who's, we mentioned earlier, he does a great job in interviewing people in Ohio, specifically for cryptid accounts and the like. And there is a comment I came across on his video on the Norton family, which is not far from here.
Oh, from Norton, Ohio, yeah.
Right by Silver Creek.
Very close. Silver Creek, that classic, well-documented case.
Yeah, and that'll go into my tunnel theory a little bit, but I just came across this comment, and then when you told me where yours took place, I found it very strange. Chris, can you see my notes? I'll put this on screen.
Let me see.
Go to my notes.
Pull them up here.
And go to this story, your story here in my notes, and there is a...
Pick away?
Yeah, there's a shot of the map of where this took place. So Pickerel Creek Wildlife Area, it's right on the southwest edge of the lower Sandusky Bay.
Yeah.
Which, of course, empties out into Lake Erie after passing Cedar Point. Wonderful little amusement park we have. And so here's a comment I came across, which is, first read this is like, what a unique case. I've never heard of a lakeside dogman.
Oh, wait, so you have a lakeside one?
So I just came across this, and when you told me where yours took place, I was like, oh, I got to grab that comment. So this was a comment on Exposing the Strange YouTube channel on their video on the Norton family dogman encounters. This comes from Sailor Ryan. I'll put the comment on screen. I had my boat launched on a Thursday evening. The crew did not raise the mast, so I stayed on the boat all night. I decided to try and sleep outside on the seats in the cockpit. The woods across from the marina, which ended on the beach, had many fallen leaves and limbs.
There was no wind, no waves. The marina is on Marblehead in Lake Erie. About 3 a.m.,
That goes to the supernatural aspect.
I heard someone walking from the woods towards me. I was low and could not be seen because of the Cummings.
What does that mean?
It might be he was just laying down on the seats in the cockpit, so he wouldn't have been seen.
It walked under a light. I had nowhere to go but the water, but I froze. I feigned sleep. He was maybe 7 foot tall, hunched over, with its tongue hanging out.
Always the hunching.
It came up slowly, stood over me for a minute. It then leaned close to my face. I could feel his warm breath on my neck. Then it left. I did not move until the sun came up. I'd never heard of a dogman until a few years later.
I mean, if that wasn't a hallucination or a dream or
I mean, that sounds like so many
nightmare.
accounts with the getting close, even where you can feel the breath on a thing, especially when they're giving chase.
Mm-hmm.
Just get, like we did that. We had that Boy Scout dogman encounter that was submitted to us where this thing was chasing them. And we could feel the breath on the neck.
Yeah.
And then turned around at some point in this escape he's trying to make, and it's just gone. It just veered off into someplace. Just enough to freak you out.
We had a story from I forget the location, but it was the chicken coop.
Yeah.
Dogman.
Very
account.
similar.
And friends that were out, and then same thing. This thing ends up chasing them, hot breath on the neck, and they're like, "How are we not dead?"
Yeah.
But again, it was that thing where it's like we talked about this many times. If you guys have seen our previous episodes or heard
Fear eating,
the need to be satiated on terror, dread, like that's some aspect of the dogman phenomena seems to be the primary purpose.
Less about massacre.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking LBL.
Unless you go down to LBL. That's a different story. But
yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Lon had some thoughts about this. And again, we'll have his channel and his site linked because he does really good work collecting these accounts and giving his own take on what he thinks might be going on. This is a quote from his follow-up, and we'll link that page. The Pickerel Creek setting is also worth considering. Wetlands, creeks, wooded edges, and wildlife corridors can create ideal conditions for misidentification. But they are also the kinds of liminal environments, as we talked about, where many Fortean witnesses report unusual encounters. And then, this is interesting because I just happened to read a follow-up about the St. Coletta case in Linda's book, and she echoes this idea when discussing the St. Coletta case, and it's echoes what we've been talking about, the sacred ground. This comes from Linda. Quote, as mentioned above, the St. Coletta incident shared another element with many future encounters. Connections to sacred ground. The St. Coletta grounds were considered holy not only by a Christian institution, but by both ancient and surviving indigenous peoples who literally embodied their traditions in that burial ground. Water is almost always found near dogman sightings, which connects to Lake Erie.
Rivers where rivers collide.
And she goes on to mention that, which I didn't know she had touched on that research, but absolutely, which often happen in or near marshlands. And the city of Jefferson, where the Coletta case happened, is built around the spot where two rivers join, Jeremy, which was cool to read that because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Because that comes up a lot.
A couple of our cases are like that.
A configuration considered sacred by many native peoples. The St. Coletta campus also lies just north of many square acres of marshland, a frequent type of habitat for anomalous creatures.
Yeah. Well, you have that liminal place between earth and water, the underworld, and the surface, the marshlands.
And last thing I want to say about this, so there was another case that I found in the area. It actually came from the Shadows podcast with Shane and the Judge.
Yeah.
Where they had interviewed someone named Paige from Upper Sandusky who had a dogman encounter. So you can check that out if you'd like. I'm not going to go into that right now, but there are mounds there. I don't know if you knew that.
Where?
The Upper Sandusky area.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, they're everywhere, but yeah, I know they're not as predominant in the north, but.
Right. And again, many have been lost to time, but.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the map right now.
Uh-huh.
This mound map, and I can't read what river this is because it's low res here, but it goes up through Seneca County and then into Sandusky, where the experience you talked about that came from Lon Strickler, along that river is a multitude of mounds.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be right by the wildlife area, I imagine. Yeah, these red dots, the mounds on the map.
Well, let me read this last thing about the mounds in this area, and we'll move on to my next encounter.
But I thought this was interesting. This came from Roy Wilhelm. He writes for News Messenger, has so for 30, 40 years.
Oh, yeah, I know Roy.
Good guy. And this came from an article he wrote called Sandusky County Had a Dozen Native American Earthen Mounds, which I guess a lot of people don't know about in that area even. While the central and southern Ohio mounds have gained fame, as we talked about, history tells us that there were earthworks in Sandusky County as well. Apparently, many of these were constructed by the Native Americans who came to be known as the Eries or Senecas. Meek's, quote, History of Sandusky County, published in 1909, lists more than a dozen earthwork locations referred to in that publication as fortifications. The history refers to, quote, the remains of a line of earthworks which appear to have extended, end quote, from Erie County south along the marshes of Sandusky Bay to a location on the Sandusky River not far from where the Ohio Turnpike now passes. The remains, according to Meek, then continued along the east side of the river all the way to the county line and beyond. Since Indian lore of the area has this being the area of considerable warring activity and the location of, quote, neutral villages on each side of the river, the mounds, or earthworks here, may have been more of a defensive purpose than those further south in Ohio. Some of the sites, which have been lost to development and weather, have produced treasures of Native American artifacts through the years. I just thought it was interesting because I didn't know that there were mounds, at least there used to be, up in that area.
There's one in Kent.
Is there really?
Mm-hmm.
My kind of alma mater.
Yeah, it came up when I was looking for mounds near Niles, Ohio. It's like 30 miles, a little bit of a drive, but they're everywhere. It's just they're not as predominant as in.
I see them around all the time. I feel like even in this area that they're not marked.
Dude, yeah,
they're just like in the woods. And you're like, what is this? And there's trees that have been growing on them for
decades,
100 years or whatever. Yeah. But they're everywhere. I mean, there's so many that are unmarked that still exist that just haven't been explored.
We first doing the show, I was like, there's one on Lafayette that I always remember. It's like a small road outside of Canal Fulton, our kind of hometown. And after doing the show and looking into like giant mounds of giants buried, and I was like, someone needs to dig,
excavate.
Yeah, because there's so much
respectfully excavate
private property. Like there's no development in this area. This is just in the woods.
Yeah,
but it looks just like the mound in Kent, where there's trees growing out of it. And there's no purpose for there to be this mound other than purposely made.
Yeah, and
there's no construction that would have been like, we need to dump dirt here. So like, how many mounds are out there that haven't even been identified?
It'd be fun.
They're dogman nests, and we need to hunt them down and make friends.
Good luck.
They're dogman hatcheries.
You go ahead and give that a shot. I'll be here. Let me know
how
it goes.
I have a spinoff idea for the show called Bite Me Bigfoot.
Jeremy Dies by Dogman.
No, it's called Bite Me Bigfoot. And the whole concept is you tell me where Dogman, where Bigfoot, where a home is possessed by spirits. Just tell me. I believe people. I believe the stories that we've been given, but I'm just getting so jaded, not having a real physical experience. And I've gone through some things in my life where I'm ready to.
Careful what you wish for.
I know the warning, but I don't got much going on,
That sounds very sad.
I got the show. I got you got a good family.
You got your brother here.
My brothers.
I need you.
My mom and dad, but I don't have a dog.
Let's get a dog.
I'm not dating right now.
Anyway,
I can meet a dog man. That's all I'm saying.
In lieu of dating, you'll meet a dog man, a nice dog man to settle down with.
Yeah. But anyway, if you want to get me murdered by dog man or carried away by a Teddy Roosevelt Bigfoot, let me know where I can find him. And maybe we'll do a spinoff.
Okay, well, for now, we're going to stick with this show, and we're going to get to the next account because I want to get to the judge, the jewel, and the crown of this episode.
Yes.
But there's a story that connects I want to do real quick from Real Wolfman, from Linda's book. But this is interesting, and let's stick with the theme of the pack in a way. Or in this case, of human beings, siblings. And let's do twins. We're twins, right?
I think so.
So this next account was witnessed to by two twin sisters at the time. This happened in Mansfield, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Very familiar place.
Shout out Mansfield.
They're putting a Buc-ee's nearby here. They're excited.
Buc-ee's is moving in. Shout out the Beaver.
But this is a great quick little account from Linda. And this is called Something Just Clicked.
In another sibling team sighting, 39-year-old twin sisters, one of whom was visiting the other in a Mansfield, Ohio mobile home park, decided to take a late-night stroll in November 2008. The air was a little above freezing, so there weren't many other park inhabitants out and about. As the sisters followed the winding paved drive, they suddenly came upon what looked like two dark furred dogs, except the dogs were standing up on their hind legs. The very strange canines were only 15 feet away and were well illuminated from a nearby home's porch light, so the woman had a very clear look at them. The creatures frightened the sisters enough that they all ran way back to their mobile home. Thankfully, the creatures did not chase them, and then hopped in a car to return for another gander from a safer vantage point. The creatures were still there, lurking as before, but as soon as the car's headlights hit them, they turned and headed for the woods surrounding the park, trotting on their hind legs. The two were somewhere between a German Shepherd and a Doberman in appearance, wrote one of the sisters, with tall, pointed ears and black shaggy fur. We nicknamed them weredogs because they reminded us of a mix between a dog and a werewolf, she wrote. The weredogs stood about 5 feet tall, although one of them was slightly shorter, and they ran with their forelimbs bent out in front of them. There was no noticeable odor. The oddest detail the twins noticed was that the creatures made a pronounced clicking noise when they ran. The sisters drove back the next morning. The creatures were not in sight, but the woman could hear that same clicking sound coming from a large brush pile near the edge of the woods. Was it the creature's den? When the sisters asked others in the park whether they had seen the upright canines, they were a bit disturbed to learn that several residents had experienced similar encounters, always at night. For all we know, the beasts may click there still.
Creepy.
Yeah.
What park was this?
In
Mansfield?
I'm not sure what park.
Oh, well, I need to know.
It was I think a trailer park.
Oh, okay.
Again, I don't know how many accounts we've come across of trailer parks and Dogman sightings.
Yeah.
One of the first ones we covered.
Well, trailer parks tend to be more on the outskirts of at least towns around here.
That's true. Along the highway where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. So Linda, being the good researcher she is, she was like, well, how can we explain this outside of, something more supernatural? And the clicking stood out to her. She found that intriguing. So she wondered, did some research and found that there is, there are hip problems, especially with German Shepherds. We know that bone issues, things like that. And she was wondering if, quote, perhaps these creatures were walking upright in an attempt to relieve their hip pain by changing position to put less stress on the irritated bone areas. Domesticated pets don't do that because they receive food with no effort on their part. But crippled wild animals still must hunt to eat. So she ends up contacting a scientist who actually studied a whole population of wolves with back problems. And this, I guess, was a study being done in the Isle Royal in Lake Superior, just north of Michigan. These wolves, I guess, are so isolated that they're riddled with genetic issues and a lot of back problems. So she asked this scientist if they'd ever been observed walking upright, and his answer was no. So even with these issues, yeah. And her last quote here, I'll read. She said, "Since many other witnesses have been near these creatures and none have reported a clicking sound, I'll consider the Mansfield mobile home's double beast clicking an isolated characteristic. I suppose there is more than one explanation for the weird behavior of upright canines in different times and places."
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I love the visual of that. It's a less terrifying account, but it reminds me so much of that classic werewolf painting or woodcut.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
With the werewolves against the wall.
They're all standing in a line against the wall, and they all have their forepaws out like this. And they're kind of elongated paws, just hanging out.
Well, it's interesting. So I looked that up. It says a clicking sound from your dog's hips. So not your dog man, but your dog. Usually indicates joint instability or friction, while it can occasionally be harmless gas. Dogman gas. Persistent clicking is often an early indicator of hip dysplasia, osteoarthritis, or transformation into a lycanthropic condition.
You're making that up.
It happens when the ball and socket do not fit smoothly, causing the joint to pop or ligaments to snap.
You threw in the lichen part.
As you become a werewolf.
Okay.
But it's interesting that especially, we hear a lot of accounts of dogmen that they transition pretty casually from four
legs
to two, but at the same time, there's a report. I don't know if this is in this episode, but there's one that runs across the road, and they describe it as almost crab-like, like the legs are kind of splayed.
Well, there was that great account from, again, Paranormal Witness, the really believable guy who was camping with his wife in, I think, like an RV in some state park. And the whole story's weird and really interesting. And they're out there, and the park ranger was kind of strange and like kind of telling them like, you probably shouldn't be out here. And they're like, why? We're just camping out here.
Yeah.
Forget where it took place. But in his account, when he saw these things pop up on two legs in the like marshy area, he heard, I remember, noticeable clicks, pops and clicks as they kind of went to
negotiate their body into a bipedal form. Yeah.
This is interesting.
So if you guys hear clicking and popping in the woods,
it's probably a dogman.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know.
And that story took place in Mansfield. That is about 20 so miles as the Dogman runs to Bucyrus. Where the judge's encounter took place.
Way to tie it in. Yes. Yeah. And this is great. We'll tell you the quick synchronicity that lines up with this quickly, because I want to get to the story. But
the judge?
Yeah. Do you want to tell him, Jared? If we were coming from Columbus, or were we coming from like Portsmouth doing the Peach Mountain stuff? I can't remember how we came across this synchronicity.
Yeah, I don't remember, but we were on, was it Route 3? Some back road home to Northeast Ohio from Columbus area. And we came up through Loudonville, which is just outside where Mohegan State Park lives. And apparently there's a big Bigfoot festival that we always somehow miss that takes place there.
Yeah.
But we were there and just stopped to check out the town on our way home. And we were trying to figure out what episode to do next. And this was, months and months ago.
Like a year ago.
And I was like, oh man, we should need to do another Dogman episode. Why don't we do Ohio Dogman? And I was talking to Chris about this story that I remember hearing on an old YouTube channel. I think the guy sadly is no longer alive who had the channel, but he had interviewed this judge who had this amazing encounter along a cornfield while he was running. And it always stuck with me. I found the guy very believable and just a really interesting account. And I was like, well, I wonder if we can find that guy. And I was talking to Chris about this, and we literally get out of the car.
So weird.
Walk down the street, and I see a flyer for I think it was a Bigfoot festival in Loudonville.
It just ended like the weekend before, but there were flyers still up for speakers.
And it said Shane and the Judge. And I was like, it was a judge. I know it was a judge that had this story. So anyways, long story short, like I finally used that as like a Googling thread to figure out who he was. And it was him. It was the guy I'd just been talking about.
What are the chances of that?
And so we reached out. They were super cool and invited us over to their studio. Anyway, we met up with them and had a really great conversation and got a pretty detailed account of what happened to him. So
hopefully we can get the visuals in line with the audio for this, and you guys will see us interviewing him, or at least see him on camera here. All right, this next account happened to our friend the judge when he was a young fella in high school, running one night outside Bucyrus in a very rural area. And this is a most intriguing account.
Do you know his real name? Because this was a thing.
He's not the judge.
When we met him, he was anonymous as far as, he's got this job as a judge, local, kind of authority figure, and he didn't want it to conflict with
his work.
Didn't want to lose that anonymity too much. I mean, he'd been on screen.
I think that even, I don't know if we can say this or not, but I think that even got him into some hot water with some local people that had a problem with him because they'd heard.
That found out that that can be used against you if you've had a crazy sounding encounter like this.
Right.
So obviously he was cautious, but it's interesting. So I think he's finally to a point now where he's comfortable coming out about his identity.
So his name, he said his name now? It's been spoken out loud?
So like I said,
publicly?
We recorded this, and then after that, he was on Monster Quest, the new Monster Quest season, I think in the winter of this year, beginning of the year. And I saw his name flash on the screen. I was like, that's his name?
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Is it Charles?
No. Why would you guess Charles?
Well, I was going to go with Ben or Brian. Is it Julio?
It makes the name of their podcast very redundant.
Is his name Shadow?
What? Oh, From the Shadows? It's From the Shadows with Shane and the Judge.
Is it Shane?
It's Shane.
That's amazing.
His name is Shane. Yeah, unless they put the wrong name on the thing. 'Cause when we met him, we talked to him for a long time, and he didn't give us his name.
Still under the radar.
Yeah, which I totally understand. I just thought that was very funny.
Interesting.
Fun guy. Shane's a great guy too. And the producer who was there, who set up the recording and everything.
They were all great.
All great guys.
Great conversation.
So link in the show notes. We'll put the QR code on screen to check out their show. Tons of great interviews Shane has done as well on that channel.
Yeah, he works hard over there.
Stories I've never heard anywhere else. So check them out. Go subscribe. And without further ado, this is the story of the judge
and the thing in the corn.
And the thing in the corn. Great title, Chris.
Thank you.
Preview to program.
So I got conscripted into training for this 10K running race in Bucyrus for the Bratwurst Festival. I was not a runner. And a friend of the family's, I was a basketball player. It's like, hey, do you want to get in shape for basketball, do this fitness program? Yeah, sure. And this guy he was an ex-military guy, and I don't know if his wife had passed away or whatever. So he was kind of a lonely guy, and my parents were friends with him. And so, hey, yeah, sure, whatever. And so he gets me into this running program. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to be running sprints up hills and stuff like that. Well, come to find out, I'm going to go run this 10K road race. Well, I have no idea how far 10K is. It's 6.2 miles, by the way. And so I'm like, 6.2 miles? Are you crazy? The furthest I'd ever run was a mile, and that was for some sort of gym class or basketball conditioning or something. Like, are you kidding me? So I kind of got suckered into it. So running is very addicting, and people will tell you this, and you get serotonin from it. So I start running, and I'm in terrible running shape, but I start to kind of get into it. And so he would meet me at places, and he would sit in the car with the stopwatch and stuff like that. And so I'd gotten to where I could run, I could run 5 miles. And so it had been really hot for about 3 straight days. And this is about second week of August. And it had been really, really hot, pushing 100 degrees or whatever. And he says, well, hey, you got to run 5 miles today. That's what your training program calls for. Do you want to run early in the morning? I'm like, well, how early? He's like, well, 6:30. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Or do you want to run in the evening? Evening, that's a pretty easy one. Well, for whatever reason, he wasn't going to be available in the evening. And I'm like, well, that's cool. And so I lived out in the country right on Route 4, which anybody who's familiar with Ohio, State Route 4, 2-lane highway, busier than heck. And it runs from down southern Ohio all the way up to the lake. So if you're going to Cedar Point or you're going to the lake, you're going to drive Route 4. You're going to drive right past my house. So if you left my house and you went south, just 100 yards, not even that, there's this little side road called Temple Road, and it was a 1-lane road. And so if you start where Temple Road intersects with Route 4 and you run all the way down to the next state route, that's 2.5 miles. So you down and back, there's my 5 miles. Easy peasy. Got it. Okay. Now you have to understand, back then there was no Walkmans. There was no, watches where you could listen to music. I had nothing. So it's just me and Mother Nature. And so I was going to start running about 7:00. Well, as fate would have it, I procrastinated. So I get started about 8:30. Now I know it's going to be dark, but it's all right because it's cooler, and I'm a country boy. I'm not scared of the dark, right? So I take off running on Temple Road, and to understand the layout, and it's still kind of this way. On the north side of that road, it's all corn for a straight mile down to the first crossroad, which would be Flickinger Road. And at that time, the corn was about head high. So it was as tall as what I was. On the left-hand side, all beans for about a half mile. Then there's this old farmhouse, and then beans in different fields all the way to Flickinger. Now, once you get to Flickinger, there was a woods on the north side of the road. I couldn't tell you how many acres it was. It was decent size. And so, like I said, I got started about 8:30 or so. Get down, and I'm coming back, very uneventful. And I get to that woods, and I get this weird feeling, like I describe as my spider senses, that something's in the woods looking at me. And so I stopped. And I'm staring at the woods. I'm like, man, this is creepy. There's something. I just get this feeling that something's watching me. Can't tell you why, but I just had that feeling. Well, right across Flickinger Road, I see the corn, and there's something in the corn like doing circles. It was just weird. It was moving. It looked like circular motion. So I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, well, that's got to be a deer. No big deal. So then it stopped, and the corn didn't move. Still didn't really bother me. So when I take off running, the thing in the corn takes off running with me. And it starts pacing me. It's not behind me. It's not in front of me. It's pacing me. And which I thought was very strange because that's not deer behavior. So I stopped. And when I stopped, the thing in the corn stops. And I'm like, okay, how did it know I stopped? You know what I mean? Like, how did it know I stopped? So I know that's not something a deer would do. And whatever was in the corn was big. Like, it was moving a lot of corn. It was big. So I ruled out it's a dog. Okay. Then I think, well, could this be some person screwing with me? So I'm thinking, well, if this is a person, it seems very odd that somebody just happen to be out in the middle of the country at night. There's no house really nearby. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to take off really fast. So I take off really fast. And when I take off, it takes off at the exact same time. So I'm beating feet. I'm going pretty fast, and it's just keeping pace. It's just pacing me. I stop, it stops. So now the panic starts to come over you because you know it's not a person. No human being is running 3 or 4 rows deep into a cornfield and pacing me. And then once again, how did it know I stopped? So now the panic comes over you, and you get that, and I got that fight or flight feeling. I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Catch my breath, and I take off like I'm shot out of a cannon. All right, way too fast. It takes off. As soon as I take off, it paces me. So now I couldn't tell you how far I ran full speed, and I realized I can't shake this thing. And so I stop again. Now I'm starting to like hyperventilate, like my heart rate's through the roof, and I'm like, I'm in a lot of trouble because I can't shake this thing. And I have no idea what it could be because I know it's not a person. I know it's not a deer. And where we're at in Ohio, there's no bear, there's no wolves. The coyote population was very, very almost zero. Now there's a lot today, but coyotes aren't very big. And this thing, I'm telling you, you'd had to have seen it. Like the whole corn was just shaking. Like it was just shaking. So now I'm like, you know, I'm panicking. I'm panicking. So coming up on my right is the old farmhouse. And I had run by that house multiple times on different training days. And I remembered that there was a big tree that set out by the road. I was like, I'm just gonna scale this tree. I'm gonna climb this tree. And I'll climb up as high as I can, and maybe I can look down in, and maybe I can see what it is, or I'll just sit in this tree until somebody comes looking for me. Now, my parents at the time, they were big in going to the VFW, which is a club. And, you know, they might stay up there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I might, and there's no cell phones back then, so I might be in this tree a really long time. And I can't even remember if I told them I was going out running. So they may have just figured I went to a friend's house. So I had figured I might be staying all night in this tree. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. So I take off jogging because now I'm like, you got to save energy. And I have an eye on the corn the whole time. So I'm thinking, is this thing just going to rush out of the corn and attack me? I don't know. And once again, when I take off running, it takes off running. And it's pacing me. It's pacing me. It's pacing me. And I'm looking. And the thing is, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm going to do if this thing runs out. I got to try to juke it, you know. So I get to the farmhouse, which marks about the half-mile mark until I get back to Route 4. And somebody had dehorned the tree. They had trimmed it. There's no limbs for me to try to grab a hold of. And I'm like, there's no way. So now I'm like, oh God, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. So At that point, for me to get home, I got to turn left, which means I'm going to intersect into whatever's in the corn. My friend lived to the right. I'm like, I'm just going to go right. And mind you, I have no idea what's in the corn. So I'm going slow. I'm not running fast because I'm conserving all the energy I have, because I know when I get to Route 4, I'm going to be like shooting out of a cannon, right? So I'm running, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. And part of me is like, don't look, just turn right and go. And as I got to the edge where the corn was going to end, like I said, I got about 30 feet. I had looked right and there was no traffic. And I looked left and I could see a semi was starting to come, and there's just a very tiny hill, just kind of like a crest. So I kind of side shuffled a little bit because I wanted to look at the semi. And as I did, I see the thing come out of the corn. And this is how I could describe it. It was about 6 foot tall, but it was slouched. And its shoulders, and I'll try to just demonstrate best I could, its shoulders were like rolled forward. And it was like this. And it was slouched. So if it would have stood straight up and with perfect posture, it could have been like 6'5" or something like that. And it had the head of a dog, high pointed ears, and it just turned and looked at me like this. It kind of turned its body, and it didn't have like the chest like a person. It had this very barrel looking chest. And in hindsight, I describe it like a dachshund. You know how a dachshund has that big chest? That's kind of what it looked like. It had this big chest, long arms. Can't tell you what the hands or anything looked like because it was hanging down. And the weeds probably went up past its knees, so I can't tell you what its lower extremities looked like. And it just turned and looked at me. And it was covered in fur. Now, I can't tell if it was black, dark gray, or brown because it was, it was dark out, but light enough I could see it. And the semi's lights hit it. And that's all I needed to see. And I shoot out of the cannon, I cross Route 4, and I'm sprinting to my buddy's house. And I can't tell you if it's 200 yards, 150 yards, but in my mind, the way that thing was standing, with its shoulders rolled forward like this, I don't know why, but I assumed it dropped to all fours and it was chasing me. Now, I don't think it did. I think what happens, I think the semi probably scared it. And so I'm just, sprinting as hard as I can. And I imagine this thing's right on my ass, right? Well, my buddy had a swimming pool, had a fence around it. They always had the gate open. As I'm getting closer, I noticed that they got the damn gate closed. So, like, in my mind, it's like, are you kidding? So I know I don't have time to stop, unlatch the gate. So I get there and I jump, throw my feet up, put my hand on it, stumble over the top of it, and I guess my first instinct was just dive in the pool. Just dive in the pool. So I just dove head first in. The shallow end was towards where the gate was. But where I dove in was kind of at an angle, and the pool was 10 feet deep. And I remember diving down, and I had my eyes open, didn't even close my eyes. And I remember feeling my chest kind of going down the slide to the deep end. And I'm blowing out my air. And when I get to the bottom, I just pinch my nose. And I look up, and I'm fully expecting to see this thing sitting on the side of the pool. Like, I'm thoroughly convinced. And I sit down there on the bottom of the pool for, I don't know, it seemed like a long time. It probably wasn't. But I'm looking up, and I don't see it. So I swim to the top. And by the way, it's not easy in 10-foot water when you got running shoes on. It's like bricks on your feet. I frog man my way up, and I get to I'm looking around, and I don't see it. So I climb out of the pool, and I run to they had a sliding glass patio door, and I just ripped that door open as hard as I could, and it had curtains. Ripped the curtains open, and my buddy's family bought one of these giant satellite dishes. When the satellite dishes first came out, they were huge. It looked like something out of the movie Contact, where you could message somebody in deep space. And so he was laying on the couch, and he had figured out how to dial up the Playboy channel. So his parents weren't home either. They were probably at some club, the Elks or the American Legion or something. And he lets out a scream, because he thought his parents had come home and caught him watching the Playboy channel. And I remember screaming, turn the lights out, turn the lights out. And I'd slammed the door and locked it. And he can't figure out what's going on. He has no idea what I'm doing. Turn the lights out, turn the lights out. And he's, what's going on with it? Something's after me. All I'd say is something's after me. I saw something's after me. So we turn all the lights out and I'm kind of peeking out windows and stuff like that. Now, to understand his property, you'd pull in his driveway. It was kind of a big black-topped area, and the garage to the house was totally detached. Like, it was not even really close. They had this like little, I don't know, like a clubhouse building, but to garage was around the side. So to get to a garage to get in a car was a long ways. And he's still trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with me, because I'm, shut up, turn all the lights out. And I remember going window to window, peeking out, looking to see if this thing was out there. And he had lots of different trees in his yard, plenty of places for something to be hiding behind. And he's like, what are you doing? And so finally I get calmed down. I just say, hey, something was in the corn. I tell him the whole story, but I don't tell him what I saw. I just tell him something was after me. And he's, kind of playing it off. He believed me that something was in the corn. And so there was no way I was leaving that house that night. Like, there was no way. Even if maybe my parents would have pulled up, I wasn't going out of that house, because this thing could have been lurking behind anything. So I ended up staying there, and that whole night, it's just, my mind's just blown. Like, what did I see?
Crazy.
Can you imagine if he had caught him?
What if the dogman had caught up to him?
Can you imagine being eaten in a pool?
Well, I don't think that would have happened.
It's like two nightmares happening at the same time.
Yeah, well, that would be terrifying. Underwater eating, not fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we interviewed the judge and Shane, and I remember them talking about that night and the other guy that was there, maybe the guy whose house it was. And I don't recall, maybe we can drop a clip, but I remember there being a conversation about the experience and whether they believed him or not at first.
Well, he didn't tell them what he saw at first.
That's right.
He was worried about, being seen as, not
either being believed.
Yeah, crazy or lying or, being just not observant enough to really know what you were looking at, which I think is a lot of people's fears.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can drop some clips in, because there was such a good conversation we had for an hour or two talking about this experience and what he thought it was, but the stalking nature of it. It's such a...
Oh, the pacing.
Yeah. And I don't think this thing would have jumped in and eaten him in the pool, Jeremy.
I know. Obviously didn't.
Yeah. But again, it's that chase you. And then at some point, like he said, he thought that the semi-lights hit him and it ran off.
Yeah. But at the time he thought it was on all fours coming after him. And then
that hunch position is such a typical thing with these encounters.
Yeah, when you have these independent reports coming out at different times and a lot of times in parallel without awareness of other stories. And
this was the 80s. A lot of accounts in the 80s.
Yeah.
Also fascinating, which I think, and maybe I'm going out on a little bit of a limb here, but...
Don't do that in the belief hole.
Yeah, the belief hole tree has not been lopped of its limbs, unlike, unfortunately, that tree that he was trying to find salvation in.
We have a tree.
But
way to tie it in.
Do you remember, speaking of the connection to sacred ground?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the road?
Flickinger? Temple Road.
Temple Road is where he first encountered this thing.
Yeah.
Which is just, it might mean nothing, but it's such a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
That it is the name of a sacred building.
Maybe there's an old Adena wolf temple that had been lost to time, but they kept the name of the road.
Maybe.
It is, there's a 35 miles south, I believe, from this area. There is a Indian Mound Nature Preserve. And then another 50 miles is a Shrum Mound, I believe, a burial mound. They're everywhere, but not that necessarily that's an exact connection, but yeah. Thank you so much to the judge and Shane.
Yeah, for having us out there to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I was going to say another connection to we haven't talked about this much on this episode. We talked about it in previous episodes, but when connecting graveyards, right?
Yeah.
Burial mounds, the dead, and then what the judge goes on to later describe. He said he couldn't, the closest thing he could think of when he saw it was Anubis.
Yeah.
The Egyptian god of death. Is he the god of death? Or he's a guide figure?
Yeah, he's kind of I don't know if guardian is the right word, but he is directly connected to the afterlife, the underworld,
the next world. Yeah. Just interesting.
Yeah.
And you hear that a lot too, that description. And again, and when he said German Shepherd, kind of Doberman mix sort of thing, those are the two descriptions you get a lot from people who run into these things.
Yeah, very specific.
German Shepherd head or Doberman, and always with the pointed ears. Not like your werewolf, not like a more wolf type, more puffy, kind of more.
But more directly up.
Yeah.
Very specific. And that is an interesting. Actually, hold on one second.
Where are you going? Are you coming into my room? Nope. Going downstairs. Jeremy? We're nearly done.
Coming!
Welcome back. Where did you go?
I didn't know if we'd have time for this, so I didn't have it quite ready, but...
Oh, yeah.
I have the Egyptian Book of the Dead featuring
Anubis. Because a jackal.
Anubis. Yeah. But I was reading this the other day, and it came up for this.
We're going to get a little bedtime story for the end of the show.
Just to be clear. I learned a lot about the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Really interesting background about the book itself. It's kind of like, it was really a collection of spells that was passed down over the years and that would be left in tombs.
Written by different people in the time?
And organized over time, from what I understand. And you would put it in the tomb of a loved one or pharaoh or whatever to help them navigate the afterlife.
Very Egyptian.
And they're interesting. One of the most interesting things about the Egyptian Book of the Dead is in the passages between the spells, there are sections called scribe notes. And those are for the scribes that would kind of interpret or help understand or try to understand the point of the spells, kind of connecting the different ideas. But it's not a linear kind of narrative, of course. It's not a book in the way we would think of it today. But Anubis, this fella here.
There he is.
Handsome devil.
It's pointed ears.
The god of mummification. Anubis is shown here as a human with a jackal head. Okay, well, that doesn't give us a lot of new information. But interesting stuff that I did not know as far as for instance, there are demons referenced here that you might encounter in the underworld. And
are they referred to as such in the Egyptian Book of the Dead?
They seem to be. I don't. Obviously, not that word. Yeah. So Anubis was jackal-headed god associated with mummification in the afterlife. He's sometimes considered to be a son of Osiris. But here, I just thought this was interesting.
Go on.
Sorry, indigestion. Gas. Explains the clicking sounds. The terms and names used in the Egyptian Book of the Dead were accumulated over many centuries, and many may not have been fully understood by the ancient Egyptians themselves. Hence the need for scribes to add notes here, and there try to explain the meaning. In addition, and this will sound kind of familiar, the Egyptians often use metaphor in their writing, and this can make it difficult for us to understand exactly what is being said. One of the most arresting terms used in the text, for example, is the Great Cackler, which refers to the primeval god of the earth, Geb, who is thought to have taken the form of a goose and produced an egg from which the sun god Ra emerged at the beginning of the world. But this is where it gets interesting. Names of demons are sprinkled throughout the text because it was believed that knowing the name of the demon, or minor god, gave the deceased power over it. What is important was knowing the name, not necessarily the meaning of the name. Some relevant examples include, creepily, the Eyeless One. Ooh. He who lives on maggots. Tasty. She of the Knife. Probably a murderous lady of sorts. And Scowler.
No sneerer? That would connect.
But I just thought that was interesting that today we have this same idea in occult circles, and I think maybe even...
Well, an exorcism.
In certain beliefs of Christianity.
Yeah, an exorcism, I'm pretty sure...
If you know the name.
Yeah. I don't know if that's just a
movie adaptation?
Right. But I think pretty sure that is...
We're not Catholic, so...
Right. Catholicism and exorcism, knowing the name of the demon gives you power over it. So it's interesting there's that connection. I wonder if, did it come from a similar source as religions bifurcated, Judaism
or it's all an understood reality.
Yeah.
When working with the other side.
That's creepy. I don't like to think about it.
Interesting.
I would never have to worry about that. Actually, I should say this. Maybe we won't have time to get deep into your
my tunnel theory.
I know, but before we get to that, or before we say we're going to...
We might have to say that for part 2.
But I just wanted to say, I didn't get to read this, but what's interesting is Jefferson, Wisconsin, where the St. Coletta encounter happened.
Yeah.
Linda makes a really good point. So in her research there, she interviewed people there at the school and in the surrounding areas. And apparently there allegedly was an exorcism about 50 years before. This exorcism rocked the community, I guess. And the priest who did the exorcism was successful, thank God, and got this thing out of this boy. And apparently the boy went on to live a normal life. But this demonic entity or whatever apparently plagued this priest through his life. I moved away, came back, and then died back in that town, but was successful in excommunicating him. And she makes an interesting point here.
Exorcise him?
Yes, exorcise.
Excommunication is like when you're kicked out of the church.
Did I say excommunication?
You did.
It's been late, and I've had a couple of these hair of the dog drinks.
12:47 a.m., a ripe hour for the dogman.
Anyway, exorcism was successful. And she makes an interesting point, and we might have mentioned this when we really covered the St. Coletta case episodes past. But she says what's fascinating is that Gadara,
Gadara, yeah,
could have been maybe some sort of growl that sounded like that, of course, but
that's weird.
She makes an interesting connection that it's spelled in the literature of the account Gadarrah, but if you take one R out and one H out, it's still pronounced Gadara. It's the name of a region of ancient Judea, 6 miles south of the Sea of Galilee, where that famous story where Jesus casts there are these two guys that are living in these caves by the sea, and they're allegedly possessed by demons, and he goes to them, and the demons request to be cast out into a herd of pigs.
Yeah.
And the pigs
Legion,
go on to,
right?
Pigs go on to
have a good life.
No, they
go into the sea.
They go into the sea and everything.
That was Legion, right? I Am Legion.
I think that might be the same account. There might have been multiple.
The name of the demon or
Jesus exorcisms. I don't remember, but that was I can't remember. Anyway, interesting that the name Gadara is that area in Judea. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
It's so weird because you keep saying that, and I keep hearing the god Ra.
Okay, I think you're really stretching it.
I don't know, man. It's all Anubis. That's what I'm saying. Could be.
Interesting stuff, though. So who knows? So she was just making the case that, here's another possible connection, but she wasn't saying this was necessarily an explanation.
Right.
But it is interesting that it is an example of demons being cast out into an animal form. And then her kind of suggestion was, after this exorcism of this boy, and then it follows this priest, and then when the priest is gone, did it take some other form? And then 50 years later is walking around in the wilderness outside of this town or around Coletta, St. Coletta, and maybe that's what he saw. I don't know.
Interesting.
But it's an interesting connection.
And there's all kinds of ways to go with this.
Yeah.
And people have their beliefs on what it is, what Dogman is, who he is or she.
Yeah, and if they're all the same thing or different things. Probably different in different experiences, I imagine.
I would argue there is...
Or is it all a projection of ourselves and the trickster manifestation of reality?
Is any of this real? Are we in a simulation?
Well,
is this just a new DLC update? That's why Dogman is so prevalent now and maybe not.
Wouldn't that still be real? We've talked about this before. We got to end the episode, but
yeah,
really simulation theory isn't, whatever you believe about life, if you believe in a soul, isn't us manifesting in these fleshy bodies just a simulation in some form
of consciousness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just playing the game.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think we solved the universe.
So when you play the game, as you guys know out there, remember to starve your ghouls.
Yeah. Play the game of life and play it well.
And why not buy a mug? Oh, wait. Does it say it? This one doesn't say starve your ghouls.
Yeah, it does.
This is the disembodied hand mug.
What does it say there? Oh, it says, well, hello.
Oh, we didn't say that this episode.
Well, hello.
It'd say, well, goodbye.
Yeah.
Because we're about to go away.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you this is probably a longer episode. Thanks for sticking around.
And thank you to all the researchers out there that did such good work. All the channels we mentioned, all the authors. We'll have everybody linked. Check out their work. Everybody has done phenomenal work on this topic.
Yeah. Mostly thank you to you guys. And to the members who keep this show going and the Call churning. Uh-oh, what's happening? Weird, my computer went to sleep. Still counting.
Oh, thank God.
I
want a Dogman curse happening.
You guys make our whole go round. So thank you. It spins, it churns, produce. So it's,
it's always churning.
It goes around. All right, guys, you have been awesome. Thank you for being here. Thanks to all of you in the premiere right now. And anyone watching on YouTube, leave your comments. Tell us how we're totally wrong about the Dogman, or
all the pronunciations we get wrong.
Or if we're right. Yeah. Or anything you think was interesting. Just, you know. And if you've had any experiences, please leave them in the comments, but definitely use this QR code or click the link in the show notes to share your story with us. Whether it's a Dogman account, Camp Creepily, if you have any creepy camping stories, outdoor stories, we're going to be doing that coming up soon. We're going to be returning to Peach Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're down there and have weird accounts, and also The Land Between the Lakes deserves a return episode.
Yes.
So send in any stories you guys have of the strange and bizarre.
And thank you to a few people that have been sending us things in the P.O. Box. You can find our website, Jen Lines, Margella, Kendra, thank you for that awesome Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant.
My face did not burn off.
Yeah.
And others.
I gotta put that behind me on the shelf.
Yeah, we got to glue it back together because you did break it.
Oh, you didn't have to say that. Kendra, I'm sorry it fell out of the car as soon as we got it and the wings broke off, but I'm going to crazy glue them back together.
Yes. Anyways, thank you so much for those generous things and the books you guys have been sending. And thank you for just being a part of the show. We really appreciate it. We love you. And we'll see you next time
on Believeful. Dogman Digger. Man, I cannot do it anymore.
You got to practice.
I'll drop in a howl.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.